Mark Godbeer, Valor BK, heavyweight champion. It's good to say champion, right? Anything with champion on it is wonderful. How do you feel? How have you soaked it in, over the past couple months being the first ever champion for such a, it hasn't been very long, Valor, but it seems like it's getting a lot of credit, what I mean, for the show that they put on.
Yeah, I think also as well, obviously, it's the same as um, whenever any new promotion starts, no one really gives it the credit they should because it's all almost like it needs to be tried and tested. Do you know what I mean? But I think after they put that first show on and the whole concept of the pit, no ring, like, and how raw it was, and obviously the fights that they put on as well for their first show, I think it just flew them right up into the top spot straight off the bat. And there isn't many promotions that literally after their first show are recognised as like a front runner of bare knuckle boxing. It's one of the oldest sports, but it's now been revived. So it's like an old sport that's just come into a new era, so to speak, So, yeah, they've done well. They've done really well. So I think you're going to be surprised with a few of the matches they've got coming up. I know they're in talks with a couple of people. I can't really say too much because that isn't my place. But, yeah, I just see bigger and better things coming for Valor, I think the whole concept of the show, and they've made it sort of unique as well because obviously with the pit and stuff, it isn't in a ring. Obviously, you've got the other front runners as well. There's 2 or 3 front runners in the bare knuckle boxing now, and I think Valor's definitely established herself after one show as being one of the front runners. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, you need to have a competition whenever you start something new or reboot any kind of sport or any kind of form of entertainment. You need to have a couple out there so they could compete and make each other better. With Valor, that pit, man, it's great for the viewers. But how do you feel? Fighting in that pit. It's kind of weird, isn't it? That there's nothing separating you from everybody else.
No, to me, bare knuckle boxing it was just like, what's the right expression? It was like water off a duck's back for me. I've got my MMA career. I felt like towards the end of sort of my MMA career, I went a bit flat. I think fighters would get this, but I've been doing it for so long, I sort of went a bit flat. And then when I come into the bare knuckle boxing, because I originally come in, I was offered a title fight for the British promotion BKB, and so I fought one of their best guys in the UK, one of their most experienced heavyweights, and I beat him and won the British title. So that sort of catapulted me right up there in the world of bare knuckle, because I think generally people look at the Brits as being the sort of front runners of the bare knuckle scene. And to be fair, it has been in the UK. We're no strangers to it. It's been underground for a long time. It's always been there, but it's been like an underground sport. You watch films like Snatch and stuff. Yeah, it's been exaggerated a bit, but there is a lot of element of truth in those sort of films. There's it is very big in the local traveller community. It's how people settle their disputes and stuff. So, yeah, for me, it's something that I was brought up around. So, I sort of fitted right in there. And it sort of, like I said, it revived my career. It gave me a new drive. Yeah, and I'm happy to throw down with no gloves on. It brings back a few old school memories.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so for this time I don't get in trouble with the police for it, so it's good.
Well, in the first event, you went through a one-night tournament, you had 2 fights, and that takes a lot of skill, a lot of preparation. But I
Yeah,
feel like luck plays a big part in it too. Do you feel like that was, even I'm not trying to take anything away from your
yeah.
performances, but I'm just saying luck is something that's there, right?
I understand completely what you're saying. You know, I completely respect Mighty Mo. He's one of these guys that I've looked up to for, I say since I was a kid. I didn't walk into a martial arts gym until I was 25 years old. So, but these are the type of guys. So I'm 36 myself now, so I'm no young pup. But these are the type of guys I was looking up to before I walked into the martial arts gym. So I wasn't a kid back then, but before I started my career, these are the guys I looked up to. But one thing I knew is these guys are very experienced. So could you, Jack May, Mighty Mo, very experienced. But one thing I knew I had the upper hand on when it comes to bare knuckle boxing, I had the experience. Mm-hmm. So for me, in one aspect, you could say it was luck, but you could sit there with my coach. Exactly what I planned to do, exactly is what happened in that tournament. I planned to go in there, kill or be killed my first fight. I knew I could. I remember after doing my first British title fight against a guy called Mickey Parker, very, very tough guy. And I also knew he's very hard to knock out. I've seen guys punch him and punch. He's never been knocked out. He's one of those. He's like he's like the Mark Hunt of the BKB world. You know what I mean? You could just punch him and punch him and punch him, and he smiles and walks forward. Yeah. So for me, in that fight, my game plan going into the Parker fight was just to jab, 1-2 jab, move, and just get the decision, get the win. And also one of my first BKB fights as well. So I wanted to get the experience under. But if you look at my face and the damage I took playing that game plan, like a proper boxing game plan, if you look at the state of my face, it was like I looked like a big pumpkin afterwards. My face was, excuse my language, but it was fucked, So I knew going into this tournament, Jack May was kill or be killed. Go in there, get him out of there, knock him out viciously as quick as I could. Or it is either go in there, get knocked out, or knock him out. Because I knew the quicker I got the job done, the less damage I took. I knew going into the second fight I was fresh. And so the element of luck that did play into it, I even said to my coach, what we need is to go in there, knock Jack May out as quick as we could, and hope that Mighty Mo and Sokaju had a 3-round war. And it couldn't have paid out any better. That's exactly what happened. They went in there and they had a 3-round war. I believe Mighty Mo was a bit salty. The other day I noticed, like, I shared a photo with, Panda Banks. I shared a photo with that guy because he's looking to come across the bare knuckle now. And, so I'm sort of promoting him a bit, trying to get him out to let people know. And he's sort of friends with Mighty Mo. Mighty Mo put a thing on there saying, oh, yeah, he was lucky, blah, 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 blah. And, normally I don't bite things, but I was like, nah, mate, fuck you. I wasn't lucky. I was just more clever than you. I knew, I'm more experienced in the world of bare knuckle. You went to war. That was a stupid thing to do in your first fight. Like when you're fighting a 4-man tournament with no gloves on, because you're going to get beat up, you're going to get fucked up. So there is an element of luck, but maybe he should have been smarter in his first fight. But I think now he's fought bare knuckle. Maybe now he's going to change his way of thinking towards it. So yeah, there is a little bit of element of luck, but at the same time, I planned everything to happen. I planned. So is that luck, or is that just good planning and knowing what to expect?
Now going into this fight, your first title defense versus Lavar Johnson, which is one fight only, there's no tournament going on. Is there more to the game planning now, or is it just mostly reactionary because you have that experience?
No, I think if you look at it like so, take away the MMA aspect with me and Lavar, take away the kicks, the clinching, like, and just stick two guys in front of each other that can punch people, knock people out. You've basically got a mirror image of two fighters fighting each other. There's like, I think that there's no point hiding my game plan. It's kill or be killed. You know, I'm not scared of being knocked out. I'm not going to go on my back foot. I'm gonna come to fight. And I think Lavar knows it. You know, there's no secret, and he's going to come forward to fight. So it's just going to be a test of wills. Who can take the punches? Who can? Obviously, there is skill to it. We're at the level where there is skill, but it's bare-knuckle boxing. You got two guys, 260 pounds, throwing bombs with no gloves on. It's like, you can have all the game plans in the world, but when you get hit, it's game over. So, obviously, there is things I've been watching with his game that I've picked up on, my coach has picked up on, and I'm sure with Lavar's experience, Lavar's going to watch things in my game. So there's stuff that I've had to adjust. I've looked at my previous fights and think, right, if I was Lavar, what would I be looking for here? So, you know, and vice versa. So there is an element of game plans to it, but for me, it's kill or be killed. You know, I get paid to entertain, so I'm going to go out there and just do my thing. I'm not going to think about it too much, see what happens. I know he's going to come out and try and take my head off, so I'm going to come out and try and take his head off, and may the best man win. I think sometimes that makes for the exciting matchups, you know.
Yeah,
so hopefully, sometimes you find when you got two guys when they're weary of each other's power, you find it nullifies it. A bit like Derek Lewis and Ngannou when they fought. Yes. Remember, they sort of nullified each other because they were both too weary of each other's power. So, but I can't see that happening with me and Lavar. I think we got a bit of street in us, and you know, one of us has got to win and win in fashion. So, yeah.
You got a good formula going on for yourself at Phuket Top Team. You got Panda Banks you mentioned earlier. I saw that you got Marley Swindles. Is he helping you out too out there?
Yeah, Marley's been absolutely great. He's one of these guys at Phuket Top Team that sort of flew under the radar, you know. But he's always there. He's a team player. He's always helping with all the pros. Always, you know, helping with their pad work and stuff. And the good thing is with me and Marley is we just click. He clicks with my head. He knows when I'm having my low days, and he knows how to boost me. Come on, mate, let's go. He'll send me little inspirational quotes or little clips of Lavar, and you know, just to get me back up in the game. Like, let's go, let's go. So the formula with me and Marley works perfect. It works absolutely perfect. Obviously, as well, I've been working a lot with Vaughan and Lee at the moment because Vaughan and Lee, if you watch his fights, he's a master at movement. He's a master at cutting angles, and so I'm trying to incorporate a bit more of that into this game plan and this fight. I think, you know, just standing in front of a guy like Lavar Johnson and just say, "Come on, let's go." Yeah, it's, you know, there's times where that's going to happen, but there's also times where I need to be smart and cut angles and create openings. So I've been working with Vaughan as well, but yeah, we've got a good team. Like, you know, Boyd Clark from Phuket Top Team, he's been really good to me. They welcomed me into the team straight away, and it's like I just fitted. As soon as I got there, I just fitted. It was like being at home. No one sort of looked at me as the outsider. Everyone just sort of welcomed me in, and it's been good. So, yeah, I don't see, you know, after the last fight now, I don't see the point in changing my formula. So we're sticking with it, and then we're going to build on it and keep creating a legacy in the world of BKB. So, yeah.
the consensus usually is that for a heavyweight, the prime years are in the late 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, which is where
Yeah,
you're at right now. Do you feel like, yeah, I'm in my prime? Like this is the top, the
yeah,
best, the fastest, the most powerful Mark Godbeer you're gonna see.
yeah, 100%. I think the expression is man strength. I feel like I've got my man strength now. I feel the strongest I've ever been. Um, my man strength's out mentally as well. I'm pretty good mentally, and I think that's a really important aspect. No matter what part of your fight career you're in, is is the mental aspect of it. And so, um, as selfish as it sounds, taking myself away from home, getting myself out in Thailand, locking myself away in the gym as well, is really good for my head because I haven't got to deal with everyday, I say bullshit, but everyday life. There's a lot of bullshit that comes with everyday life. I don't think there's a person on the planet that says they don't put up with everyday bullshit in their normal life. So I sort of fighting is a very, very selfish game, and I've come to realise that now. If I'm not looking after myself and my own head and the way I think, then if I'm not happy in myself, then I'm not happy training. If I'm not happy training, I'm not happy fighting. So, like I said, taking myself out of the equation, locking myself in a gym where everyone's got the same mentality, everyone's got the same drive, it sort of gives me a positive outlook on everything, and I take that into my fights now. So, it seems to be working. The formula's working. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, man, you
Yeah,
looked incredible in that last event. So, that's what I'm thinking too. I feel like the angles that you were coming in, the game planning, the power that you were throwing with, and the accuracy was there for you in
yeah,
that one night tournament. And yeah, it just seems like you are just running on all cylinders. Even your interviews, man, even afterwards, it was just like you're all there. You're just like, hey, you're embracing every single bit of it, and it's good to see, man. Like I've been talking to you for a while now, so
yeah,
even back in your UFC days.
yeah. Is people, I've just done a documentary called Phuket Dreaming, which we're waiting for it to be released. But in that sort of little documentary I've done, I really opened up. I was just honest. Um, I won't give away too much with it, but in that documentary, I opened up about myself, my personal life, what I was going through, and stuff. And um, yeah, I think with at the time, because it got to the point. If you actually look at my career, there was a point when I was in my Bama days, I was flying.
Hmm.
I was smashing everyone that was in front of me. I was like my actual fighting itself. I was smashing everyone, and then I sort of signed with the UFC. And then at that time, I was signing with the UFC. I was going through, personal business. I won't go into it too much, but splitting up with my wife, and you could just tell my personal life was affecting my fight career.
Hmm.
And it just so happened like the time I was signed with the UFC was probably one of the lowest points of my life, like my personal life, and it just affected everything. I can remember my last fight I did against is it Dmitry Sozanovsky, or I can't pronounce the name,
Yeah,
Russian dude.
yeah.
It was in the O2. Like, in my own head, I should have fucking won that fight. I was on top of him at one point. He was done, gassed. I was on top of him. He was on all fours. All I had to do was just be Mark and just destroy him, punch him, and finish the fight. But there wasn't none of that left. The fire had gone out of my belly. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I'm not making excuses. I'm really not. I'm just trying to put my point across so people can understand that the mental aspect of this game is very important. And mentally, I wasn't in a good place, so I didn't actually. When it came to the UFC, I wasn't actually cut from the UFC. They didn't bring me out and say, "Look, you've been cut." I said to my manager, I said, I don't want to be in the UFC anymore. And he was like, Mark, what are you on about? What you know? And I was like, I don't want to be in the UFC. I can't. For me, because of like, what was going on in my personal life, I couldn't deal with the other pressures of like being in the UFC, trying to train for fights. And I can remember I was training for one fight, I got injured, I had to pull out, my head went right, and I just thought to myself, this isn't fair. Not only is it fair on me, it's not fair on my opponents when I'm being matched up and they're not getting the real me, or I have to pull out because like no one likes to admit it, but like having to pull out because like you're struggling mentally really bad, and it's a really mental. If you're not mentally prepared for a fight, fighting's one of the most stressful things you can do anyway, But when you've got a lot of outside stress going on as well, on top of preparing for a fight, it's just so. In my own head, I was just like, look, I'm done. Get me out of the UFC. I can't deal with it. But I left the UFC, and then obviously once I got my life back together, I did actually think to myself, fuck, what have I done? I spent the last 10 years of my life dedicating myself to get to the UFC, and I've just blown it. I've completely blown it out of the water. I've asked them to cut me, and but everything happens for a reason. Since that, I've changed career paths. I've gone on to the bare-knuckle boxing, and it seems to be it's paying off. I'm earning a decent living out of it. I'm able to support my family back home, and yeah, it's like, and it's revived me. So everything happens for a reason. Behind every low point, there's a high point. So we're the universe. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's yeah, Phuket Dreaming, man. That's a great series. It's been going on for a while, and I'm excited
Yeah.
to see yours, man. I'm really looking forward to that one. I've seen all of them. They're all good. It's just yeah, yours is coming. So, whoever's listening to this, if you're watching this, look out for that on YouTube or the Phuket Top Team, social media pages. Now, no fight is without controversy, right? And Lavar
Yeah.
Johnson brings a little bit of controversy with him into this fight. A lot of people say he shouldn't be fighting anymore, because of his issues of going to prison for, domestic violence. What is your take on that? Do you believe like everybody needs a second chance?
Yeah, 100%. I've never gone to prison for domestic violence and stuff like that, and I'm not excusing it. I really ain't excusing it. It's something I personally don't agree with, but everyone makes big mistakes. He's paid his dues. He done 5 years in prison for it. Um, it's a hard one for me to comment on this one because obviously there's going to be mixed views on it. There's going to be a lot of people out there going to say, no, he doesn't deserve to be there. And there's going to be other people that say, yeah, he does deserve a second chance and stuff. So I'm sort of sat on the fence with it. The way I see it is I've actually known Lavar since back in 2013, I believe, when I think obviously he was with the UFC, and then he went to Bellator, and I fought on exactly the same card as him against Czech Congo. And I remember the first time I ever met him, this big goof of a guy, like, I knew exactly who he was, this big knockout artist. And for me, that was like my first big appearance on a big show, headlining, Bellator against Czech Congo. Even though now I'm a bit more experienced, I feel like I was brought in as a, beat Czech Congo, this guy. I was out for 18 months before that with a broken neck. So, but anyway, that's a different story. But like, I remember first bumping into Lavar, and Lavar was like really boosting me up. This is your chance now, Mark. Like, this is you're going in against one of the best guys in the world. This is your chance to make a statement. This is your chance now to really make something of yourself. Go out there and do it. Go and show the world what you could do. So all of Lavar's personal business aside, put that aside, what he's been like towards me, he's been a good guy. He's been a good guy to me. And now we're fighting. It was on the last show. It was like, the first when I noticed he got matched again, I sort of messaged him and said, "I'm glad you're back on the card. Let's grab a beer afterwards," because every time I seem to bump into him, we're always the ones that seem to grab a beer after the fight. Once it's all settled down, I sit down with him, we have a beer. So for me. He's always been okay with me, so that's where I'm at with it. I can't be opinionated on other issues because no matter what I say, there's always going to be people that say this right, say it's wrong. So sometimes it's better just to sit on the fence.
The bigger the names, I'm pretty sure, Lavar Johnson, UFC vet, Bellator vet, big name, big power. You get through him. There's a big year ahead of you in 2020. Are there any other MMA or just heavyweights in general you see out there, like, Valor needs to pick them up, and then I need to beat them. I need to knock them out in the Valor pit.
I think you know me as well. I was saying about mentally going back. Maybe just over a year ago, I wasn't in a very good mental place. So I chose to come away from the sport a bit, not because I was scared to fight anyone or anything like that. It's just my head wasn't right, so I couldn't mentally prepare myself to do the job. But like now, I would generally fight anyone in the world. That's not me saying I'm not one of these. If I'm the champion and these guys say, right, this is the guy you're fighting, I'm like, okay, send me the contract. How can I call myself a world champion if I'm not willing to fight whoever they put in front of me? So, yeah, I'll fight anyone. It'd be there's other fighters I would love to fight, and I generally think I would smash him in bare-knuckle boxing. I know I would. But they're signed with other big organisations, so I can't see those fights happening soon, so there's no point calling them out. But, there's one guy, just won a belt. I think you stick him in front of me in the pit, and I can only see it going one way. So work that one out yourself.
All right. Now, one last thing, before I let you go, a guy that you mentioned earlier who is with you at Phuket Top Team is Vaughn Lee. And I seen you put up a post of, somebody wants him to face off against Brad Pickett, which is a very interesting fight in bare-knuckle.
What a fight that would be. The awesome fight. When it bare-knuckle as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the word on that? Has Brad responded, or has Vaughn responded to Brad?
So this is how it is. Obviously, I know Vaughn personally. He's been retired for a little bit, but Vaughn's got similar sort of mindset to myself, really. The bare-knuckle boxing is like one of those things. If you're a true combat sports guy, it's like one of those things you have to put on a tick list. How can I retire? Listen, this bare-knuckle boxing is becoming massive now. I need to do this before I retire. I can't. So I think that's where Vaughn's at. And I know personally, Vaughan wants to fight bare-knuckle. I know personally, Vaughan is actually training for bare-knuckle now. I put a post up. I put a post up, obviously with people's permission, just testing the water. And I said Vaughan would like to come out of retirement to fight bare-knuckle boxing. One of the guys he would love to come out of retirement to fight bare-knuckle boxing is against Brad Pickett. Personally, I think that would be an absolute cracking fight. And Valor seem to have jumped all over it. Vaughan has put on game, let's go. Brad Pickett's come up on the post and said, let's do it, let's go. So now I guess it's just down to contracts and the business side of it. But I can see it happening, to be honest with you, yeah. And what a fight that would be. So I think that would probably be one of the biggest bare-knuckle boxing fights to date. I say today, you know, since the sport's being revitalised, it'd be one of the biggest new age bare-knuckle boxing fights. Who wouldn't want to see those two warriors go at? And they're both so skillful as well. The way they both move, the way they both punch, the way they both box. I can just see it being an absolute terror. So and I also as well, I know Brad, I fought on the same show as Brad in the UK with BKB. So I know Brad's had a little taste of bare-knuckle boxing, but the guy he stepped up against, you know, Brad did finish him early, so I'm sure Brad wants a bit more of a challenge. He's got one in Vaughan and Lee if he wants it, so it's just a matter of who's willing to get the contracts out to these guys, and hopefully it's Valor. Me personally, I think Valor would be the best platform to do it on. I know I've had words of the matchmakers and stuff, and they're sort of asking me, is he game to fight? Blah 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 blah, and I'm like, well, here's a video. He's training. He's ready. He's preparing himself. So let's see what comes of it. I hope something big comes off of it. Yeah, it'd be cool. I think it'd be a great match. It excites me. So what's it going to do for the fans also?
All right. Well, January 11th, VBK2 main event, heavyweight world title. Your first title defense, Lavar Johnson, Florida, USA. Mark, always good talking with you, man. Always appreciate the time because, you always are easy to kind of get a hold of and get this stuff rolling, you know what I mean? And I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy that you get the year kicked off good with the title defense. Thank you so much. Appreciate everything.
No worries, man. Thank you. Cheers.